Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day everyone. Welcome to Info Channel. And for today's topics, here's the headlines. So first is Lesson 1, the human flourishing in terms of science and technology. Lesson 2, technology as a way of revealing. Lesson 3, the good life. And lastly, Lesson 4, when technology and humanity cross. Do you want to have knowledge about them? Stay into this Group 2 presentation.
The human flourishing in terms of science and technology. According to Corpus 2015, every living creature is meant to become what it is meant to be. The caterpillar is meant to become a beautiful butterfly, a small seed into a full-grown herb, bush or tree, and a human baby into a mature person who is fully alive, the glory of God in the word of Saint Irenaeus. As we grow and develop, there are various factors that affect us. There are different questions that need to be answered, and there are steps and actions that need to be undertaken. Flourishing is the highest good of human attempt to achieve his or her life. Eudaimonia, literally good-spirited, is a term connected by renowned Greek philosopher Aristotle 385 to 323 BC to describe the peak of human's happiness that can be attained. The big question is how? How will you achieve your flourishing? Aristotle's human flourishing arises as a product of different factors such as phronesis, friendship, wealth, and power. The ancient Greek society believed that for the people to achieve the true meaning of happiness, these qualities should be acquired, which in effect allowed them to join in the greater notion of what we call the good. For Aristotle, the good is what is good for purposeful and goal-directed entities. He defines the good proper to human beings as the activities in which the life functions specific to human beings are most fully realized. For Aristotle, the good of each species is finally existing to this species. A person's nature as a human being provides him with guidance with respect to how he should live his life. A fundamental fact of human nature is the existence of an individual human beings, each with his own rational mind and free will. The highest or most general good to which all individuals should aim is to live most fully a life that is proper to man. The proper function of every person is to live happily, successfully, and well. This is done through the active exercise of a person's distinctive capacity, rationality, as he or she engages in activities to the degree appropriate to the person in the context of his or her own identity as a human being. One's own life is the only life that a person must live. It follows that, for Aristotle, eudaimonia is formally egoistic in that a person's normative reason for choosing action stems from the idea that he or she must pursue his or her own good flourishing. Self-interest is flourishing. The good in human conduct is connected to the self-interest of the acting person. Good means good for the individual moral agent. Egoism is an integral part of Aristotle's ethics.
Good day everyone, especially to our teacher and of course to my classmates, good morning. This is my report. Science, technology and society and the human condition. The human flourishing in terms of science and technology. People found means to live more comfortably, explore more places, develop more product and make more money. And then the cycle is just repeating to suffice their happiness. In the beginning, early people relied on animals for their transformation include. They relied on stones and appears to hand foods. They used skin of animals to protect their skin and use it as clothes. They used stones to make fire and lastly, they just live in cave as their shelter. So, in the early people, they relied on animals. for their transformation include. Because in the early people, they have no more things like knife, spoon, or utensils that we have right now. So they relied on stone to hand foods. So after they hand that animals, they use their skin to make clothes. And they use stones to make fire because they have no like that we have like lighter or light. So they use stones to make fire. And lastly, they just live in cave to make as their shelter, because in the early people they have no house like building or like what we have right now. As the time went by, there was a big change in the way the people lived before and the way the people live today. The person today is supposed to build himself, herself in the global neighborhood, working side by side among institutions and different government to be able to reach common goal. That's why human for today are expected to become a man of the word, Aristotle originally perceived. And nowadays, competition as a means of survival has become outdated, and cooperation and coordinate among individuals. There is a difference between Eastern and Western ideas regarding society, human flourishing. To be more focused on the individual. Individual flourishing as an end then is a primarily more of concern for Western, modern technology, while the Eastern included are more community-centric. Eastern civilization puts the community above the individual.
So now let's discuss about the technology as a way of revealing the facts that civilization must describe how people evolved not only the physical but ability of mentally itself through discovering a lot in this world. Without discovering technologies wasn't help us live easier. Moreover, humans have own interaction with technology, which is human needs are defined how they works in every step of their lives. So, example of technology invention is the telescope. Because of these things, the scientists are able to observe the heavenly bodies like the stars and discover another planet. And the other example is the internet. Internet is a very helpful to everyone nowadays. We can access information that we need in an easier way. So let's move on the scientific methods. So what is scientific methods? Scientific method is an organized way that helps anyone to answer a question or begin to solve the problem. To carry this out, we need to follow the 6 steps of scientific methods. Number 1, make observation. In this step, you have employ your senses like observing how ice melt in water using your eyes. Number 2, come up with a question. You are going to come up with a question based on your observation. For example, does melting of ice vary in different temperature? Now you make a prediction what happened next. This is called the develop a hypothesis or prediction. This is the step 3. For instance, you may predict that ice melts faster in the hot water or ice melts slower in the cold water. To test your prediction is correct, we conduct the experiment, the number 4. This process is tells changing only aspect that we need to test. For example, you may change the temperature in your set up while having your measurement in a type of liquid. The amount of ice in the length of time for melting are constant while doing this experiment. Make sure to record what's happening and analyze the result or gather the data. So this is the step 5. Once your experiment is complete, collect your measurement and analyze them to see if they support your hypothesis or not. So finally, the last step is to draw or to make the conclusion. It's involved giving your answer to the problem. Overtake whether you accept or reject the hypothesis that based on the data that you collect in your experiment. Science is a voyage of exploration just to find out how things work, and it's really interesting because it is ongoing and endless process. So that's all for these topics. Thank you po, ma'am. Have a good day po.
Good day everyone, my name is Jihanli Villanueva and today I will be discussing why our diversity and collaboration in a scientific community is important towards human flourishing. So let's start with what is the role of the scientific community. So the scientific community is the key to the process of science. Members of the scientific community help each other, check each other's work, help improve new ideas, catch cases of bias and fraud, and help motivate each other. Now, let's go to science as social endeavor. So, science as a social endeavor means the application of science to figuring out how the world works, exists, or originated. So another dimension of science as social endeavor is to solve various problems, satisfy various needs, and sustainable development of the society with the help of scientific knowledge. Science works even all the steps in the scientific method not followed. The process of science is flexible and may take many possible paths. Science is done by unique individuals without following a certain routine with motivation, ambition, and creativity. Most scientific work also involves reviewing other scientists' articles for journals, teaching, mentoring graduate students and younger scientists, speaking at conferences, and participating in scientific societies. Scientists from such diverse backgrounds bring many points of view that have bearing on scientific problems. You may wonder why science is considered as a social endeavor. Simply because it involves groups of scientists working together. The following are the importance of collaboration and diversity in the scientific community towards human flourishing. But first, let us know what is diversity and what is collaboration. Collaboration means the action of working with someone to produce or create something. It is a working practice whereby individuals work together for a common purpose to achieve benefit. Collaboration enables individuals to work together to achieve a defined and common purpose, while diversity means understanding that each individual is unique and recognizing our individual differences. This can be along the dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, or other ideologies. First, collaboration and diversity balance possible biases. So scientists benefit from other scientists and practitioners with different sets of beliefs, cultural backgrounds, and values to balance out possible biases that might happen if science were practiced by a small group of humanity. As an example, consider the ongoing scientific investigation of climate change. With such a hot-button issue, personal beliefs about the environment, the economy, business, and politics would unwittingly bias one's search for or assessment of the evidence. So scientists strive to be impartial and objective in their assessments of scientific issues, but in those occasional cases in which personal biases sneak in, they are kept in check by a diverse scientific community. Impartial means we are treating others equally, fair, and just, while when we say objective, we are expressing or dealing with facts or conditions as perceived without distortion by personal emotions and prejudices. Second, diversity and collaboration stimulate problem solving. Scientists benefit greatly from a community. A diverse community is better able to generate new research methods, explanations, and ideas. Two heads are better than one. Problems arise from different sectors of society. Each can help science over challenging obstacles and shed new light on the problems for the betterment of the society. Third, diversity and collaboration facilitate specialization. Scientists have different strengths and different interests. Not only do people from different backgrounds choose to investigate different questions, but they may approach the same question in different ways. For example, the biologist with a penchant for math, the biologist with an interest in human behavior, and the biologist who can get enough of the microscopes and lab work can also focus on their strengths. While each might choose to tackle the same topic, they will do so from different angles, contributing to a more complete understanding of the topic. Fourth, diversity and collaboration are inspiration and motivation. Scientific community offers recognition like Nobel Prize awards where respect and esteem from colleagues are being acquired. Interactions in society encourage innovation and development of ideas about new lines of evidence, new applications, new questions, and alternate explanations about the technology. Some people are driven by the thrill of competition. In science, achievement is usually measured not in terms of money or titles, but in terms of respect and esteem from colleagues. And lastly, diversity and collaboration divide labor. Collaborations and division of labor are important today because there is an expansion of scientific understanding, techniques, and technologies. Science is too wide for an individual on his or her own to handle. There is simply more to know than ever before, and as we learn more about the world, more research is performed at the intersections of different fields. And that's all for this topic. Thank you for watching and listening. Good day!
What are the human conditions before and after science and technology? According to Ramey, 2012, these are the concepts of human conditions before and after science and technology. Technological advancement. Technology has advanced with years. It changed the way we live, the way we purchase products, the way we communicate, the way we travel, and the way we learn. And so many changes have been brought about by these continuous technological advancements. Technological advancement in business and organizations. It saves time and cost of production, which has been an advantage to all businesses. They manage these advancements to gain competitive advantage. A good example is the 3G or 4G broadband. Small businesses have taken advantage of this super-fast internet to reach target markets with less cost of operation. Technological advancement in medicine and healthcare. Technology has helped in saving many innocent lives. Human medicine and health science have improved. Doctors and medical students have embarked on medical technological tools to carry out extensive research on human health problems and challenges. Technological advancement in agriculture. This technology has played a big role in changing the face of agriculture. This has resulted into increased production and abundant food supply. The advanced sprinkles are used to irrigate their crops for a better yield, but with the type of irrigation method, the crops will not yield well, so the farmer will have a big loss. Technological advancements in education. Education has greatly changed the education sector. We nowadays learn through mobile gadgets and tablets. Information is power, so both students and teachers can use advanced technologies for education to make research on subjects of interest. Education has greatly changed the education sector. We nowadays learn through mobile gadgets and tablets. Information is power, so both students and teachers can use advanced technologies for education to make research on subjects of interest.
So now, let us proceed to the lesson 3, the good life. So what is good life? In others' point of view, when it comes to living the good life, we almost all have a certain idea how such a life should look like. So for them, the good life is a term that refers to a desirable state that is primarily characterized by a high standard of living or the adherence to ethical and moral laws. So some people believe that the good life is all about pleasure, wealth, and the fulfillment of all their material wishes. But what is really meant by a good life? Well, according to Westcott 2018, there are 3 ways by which we can understand what is meant by a good life or living well. And these are the moral life, life of pleasure, and fulfilled life. If we will think of it, the question what is good life is one of the oldest philosophical questions, and it has been posted in different ways of how should one live. So for what do phrases like the good life or living well mean? So they can be understood in at least 3 ways. So first is the moral life. So the term good can be used to indicate moral acceptance in a basic way. So when we say that someone is living well or has led a good life, we may simply indicate that they are a good person who is courageous, honest, trustworthy, kind, loyal, generous, helpful, and so on. They possess and practice many of the virtues, and they don't spend all of their time pursuing their own pleasure. Instead, they devote a portion of their time to activities that benefit others, such as engaging in activities with family and friends, working, or participating in various volunteer activities. So this statement, there have been many supporters of this moral vision of the good life. Moreover, both Socrates and Plato prioritized being a moral person over all other supposedly good things like pleasure, prosperity, and power. So according to Plato, it is far better to suffer injustice than to commit it. That a decent man who has his eyes cut out and is tortured to death is better off than a corrupt person who has exploited money and power dishonesty. Furthermore, Plato explores his argument further in his masterpiece, The Republic. He says that morally decent person has an inner harmony, whereas the weak person is disharmonious. Inherently at war with himself and the universe, no matter how wealthy and powerful he is or how many pleasure he enjoys. Additionally, many religions consider the good life to be lived according to God's laws. Those who live this way are pious. Moreover, the popular philosophers Socrates and Plato primarily define in their works the good life as the examination of life, the mastery of the self, and the contribution to one's community.
So now let us proceed to the life of pleasure. So the ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus was one of the first to declare that what makes life worth living is that we can experience pleasure. So what is that pleasure? Pleasure is enjoyable, it's fun, it's pleasant. So the view that pleasure is the good or bad, or to put it in another way, that pleasure is what makes life worth living, and that is also known as hedonism. So now the word hedonism, when we apply that to a person, that has a slightly negative connotations. Why? It is because it suggests that they are devoted to what some have called lower pleasures. So those lower pleasures are the sex, the foods, the drinks, and the sensual indulgence in general. So Epicurus was taught by some of his contemporaries by advocating and practicing this sort of lifestyle. And even today, an epicure is someone who is especially appreciative of food and drinks. Well, in fact, though, this is a misrepresentation of Epicureanism. So Epicurus certainly praised all kinds of pleasures, but he didn't advocate that we lose ourselves in sensual debauchery for various reasons. So that was the focus of Epicurus, that having a good life, or what makes our life worth living, is that we can experience pleasure. So now let us proceed to the fulfilled life. So if Socrates emphasizes virtue and Epicurus emphasizes pleasure, another great thinker, Aristotle, views the good life in a more comprehensive way. So to Aristotle, we all want to be happy. We value many things because they are a means to other things. For instance, we value money because it enables us to buy things that we want. We value leisure because it gives us time to pursue other interests. But happiness is something we value not as a means to some other end, but for its own sake. So it has intrinsic value rather than instrumental value. So for Aristotle, the good life is a happy life. He also agrees with Socrates that to live a good life, one must be morally good person. And he also agrees with Epicurus that a happy life will involve many and varied pleasurable experiences. So we cannot really say that someone is living a good life if they are often miserable and certainly suffering. So, for Aristotle's idea of what it means to live well is objectivist rather than subjectivist. So, it isn't just a matter of how a person feels inside, although that does matter. It's also important that certain objective conditions be satisfied. So, that was for Aristotle, that being fulfilled in life is what makes us have that good life, or that we are living well.
The meaningful life. At what point you can say that your life is meaningful? A lot of recent research shows that people who have children are not necessarily happier than those people who don't have children. Indeed, during the child raising years, and especially when the children have turned into teenagers, parents typically have lower levels of happiness and higher level of stress. But even though having children may not make the people happier. It does seem to give them the sense that their lives are more meaningful. That's why being a parent is not easy. It should take time, effort, commitment, have stable job, love, and the main purpose is you want to have children not because you want someone to take care of you once you get old, but because you want to be a parent and make your life more meaningful. For many people, the well-being of their family, especially their children and grandchildren, is the main source of the meaning in life. This outlook goes back a very long way. In ancient times, the definition of good fortune was to have lots of children who do well for themselves. But obviously, there can be other sources of meaning in person's life. It can be doing things that you love like traveling, helping other people, buying things that satisfy your needs, spending time with your friends, and etc. Because happiness depends on ourselves. The Finnish life. The Greeks had saying, "Call no man happy until he's dead." There's a wisdom in this. In fact, one might to amend it to, "Call no man until he's long dead." For sometimes, a person can appear to live in a fine life and be able to check all the box virtues: prosperity, friendship, respect, meaning, and etc. Yet eventually, be revealed as something other than what we thought they were. A good example of this is Jimmy Savile. A British TV personality was much admired. In his lifetime, he hosted BBC shows, and on top of that was Pops and Gmail Fix. He raised an estimated of 40 million US dollars for charities, and during his lifetime was widely praised for his personal qualities and the fundraiser. But after he died, people discovered that he is a serial sexual predator. Jimmy Savile may have enjoyed his life, but surely we would not want to say that he lived a good life because of what he did. A truly good life is one that is both enviable and admirable in all costs, most of the ways outlined above. Now, let's proceed on the different beliefs of people on how to achieve meaningful life. First is materialism. This belief aims to comfort, pleasure, and wealth are the highest goals in life. Some people focuses only on the material thing that they want to have. For them, only material thing matters and give meaning in their life, which is very unusual, but this kind of people do exist. Number 2 is hedonism. Continue the theory of materialism. Hedonists see the end of goal in life in attaining pleasure. For them, since life is limited, one must indulge itself with pleasure, eat, drink, and hurry for tomorrow we die. They strive to maximize their pleasure. They live in their life and not thinking about what will happen to them tomorrow. The last one is the Stoicism, are those who live in their lives in the real world, asserts the virtue of wisdom, happiness, and judgment should be based acts on behavior rather than words. A stoic person is the one who accepts what happens without complaining or showing emotion, because for them, they cannot control everything. And that's all. Thank you.
Next, theism. What is theism? The ultimate basis of happiness, according to theists, is the communion with God. Theists are inclined to assert that human life would be meaningless if there is no personal immortality and God did not exist. William Lane Craig, an American philosopher, points out that human life would not make it meaningful by theistic standard if God did not exist, and adding an infinite extension of time to human life would not be sufficient for meaningfulness. So what is good life in the eyes of theists? They believe that they can find the meaning of their lives by using God as the creator of their existence. Practicing Catholics, for example, subscribe to theism. If you believe that God created the universe, you believe in theism. It covers a huge range of religious beliefs, notably the Abrahamic monotheisms such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, as well as Hinduism, are all theistic religions. Humanism. What is humanism? When we ask this question, what is good life? How should we live well in the one life we have? A humanist might answer that the good and worthwhile life is a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling to the one living it. Humanism is another school of thought that affirms our ability as human beings to have the right and responsibility in giving meaning and shaping our own lives. Leaders of the religious right often say that humanism starts with the belief that there is no God. It is not theistic and does not accept supernatural views of reality. According to American Humanist Association, humanism is motivated by compassion. Further, humanists see themselves not only as the stewards of creation, but as individuals who have control for themselves as well as the world outside them. Humanists take responsibility for their own lives and relish or love the adventure of being part of new discoveries, seeking new knowledge, and exploring new options. Humanism thus derives the goals of life from human needs and interests rather than from theological or ideological obstructions, and asserts that humanity must take responsibility for its own destiny. What is the ultimate goal of a good life? Happiness is the meaning and purpose of life, the whole end and aim of human existence. This is according to Aristotle. Aristotle taught that true happiness is found by leading a virtuous life and doing what is worth doing. The ultimate reason to be morally virtuous is to be happy, to live a flourishing life. But how to live a life virtuously? Living virtuously life means living the virtues, particularly the virtue of prudence, the ability to govern and discipline oneself, justice, temperance or moderation in action, thought or feelings, and courage. Aristotle argues that happiness is a goal of and part of human existence, by arguing that the highest end, the supreme good of our existence is happiness. Bonnewell 2008 stated and emphasized that feeling good is not good enough for a good life. Each person must realize his or her potentialities, which would lead him or her to the greatest fulfillment. Many people believe that their happiness depends on achieving the goals they want, and we usually think or say, "I'll be happy when." They think that this will motivate them to take action towards their goals. They believe that one day their ship will come in and they will live happily ever after. What is the role of technology in achieving good life? In today's world, technology is important in our lives as it helps us to deal with everyday's dynamic things. For some, technology is just a tool that people use to build a good life, depending on how we define a good life. Whether we use such technological advancement or not, it provides and offers us various tools as a means to achieve something faster and in easier manner. Technology can also be a threat to us if we misuse it, so balance between technology and human labor is essential. Technology never should overpower humans. For Albert Borgman, a philosopher who takes technology seriously, technology is more than a tool, it's an inducement, and it's so strong that for the most part, people find themselves unable to refuse it. Technology allowed us to tamper time and space. Social media, as an example, has been effective in doing this. Communication has been a lot easier for people from different parts of the world. They can talk and see each other in real time and send messages instantly without waiting for a letter mail to arrive. Regardless if we use these technological advancements or not, these are all in the pursuits of attaining a good life. A crucial feature of technological devices is that it makes something available to us in a comfortable way. You don't have to work for it. It's there at our beck and call or is always ready to do whatever someone asks.
So now, let's move on to the lesson 4, when technology and humanity cross. Technology keeps on progressing due to the changing times and environment, and also to the ever-progressing mind of mankind. It would not be possible for all these technological advancements to exist if it were not for the brilliance, creativeness, the power of the mind. However, it is also important to know that anything too much is bad. So when we talk about when technology and humanity cross, is all about the technology that create impact to everyone around them. It is making our world a more better place to thrive through the innovation and discoveries. But also, there's a negative side to technology. It can be addicting and it can hurt our communication skills. Now let's proceed to television set, mobile phones, computers, and humanity. The number of technology devices can easily be found inside home, the most accessible place to anyone. Like almost all households and people all over the world use these technologies every day to accomplish different purposes. One of these is the television. Random Media reported that in the Philippines, the current count of households with television set already reached 15.135 million. This number signifies something that is television plays a great role in the lives of the people, or in this case, we Filipino. And also television is product of different experiments by various people. And Paul Gottlieb Miklo, a German student in the late 80s, was successful in his attempt to send images through wires with the aid of rotating metal discs. This invention was then called the electric telescope that had 18 lines of resolution. After some time, in 1907, two inventors, Alan Archibald Compass Whitton, who was an English scientist, and Boris Rosin, who was a Russian scientist, create a new system of television by using cathode ray in addition to the mechanical scanner system. This success story gave rise to two types of television system, namely mechanical and electronic television. So now, let's move on to the second one, mobile phones. So, mobile phones nowadays, anywhere, anytime, we are using it for different purposes other than for communication. Like, it allows us to share, to store data, and also enable for us to carry our files around wherever we go. Like, it's the perfect way to stay connected with your business, with your study, or with your work. In addition, mobile phones have a very interesting background story. On April 3, 1973, Martin Cooper, senior engineer at Motorola, made the world's first mobile phone he called the rival telecommunication company, and probably informed that he was making a call from a mobile phone. And in 1983, Motorola made the first commercial mobile phone available to the public. And it was known as the Motorola Dynatac F1000X. And lastly, computers and laptops. These have become part of many of the Filipino households, like they own one computers or laptops in every family. Just like television sets and mobile phones, computers and laptops also have a long background history of trial errors. It was Charles Babbage, a 19th century English mathematician professor, who designed the analytical engine which was used as the basic framework of the computers even until the present time. And in April 1981, they released the first true portable. It was called Osborne 1. So now let's proceed. Roles played by these technological advancements. These television sets, mobile phones, and computers and laptops all have different functions and roles played in the life of the people. Like the use of technology is more preference to people, as it certainly makes things easy. This technology is basically not needed. It becomes the essential part of our life. Or mostly, in today's dynamic world, life without technology is pointless because it becomes inevitable in our everyday lives.
Robotics and humanity. When we talk about robotics, it is a branch of engineering that involves the conception, design, manufacture, and operation of robots. We all know that robot is one of the great products of the innovative minds of the people, which is robots are now widely used. The International Federation of Robotics and the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe made it their task to formulate working definition for service robots. A preliminary extract of the relevant definition is by International Federation year 2012. We have here the meaning of robot, service robot, and personal robot. First, what is a robot? A robot is an actuated, programmable in two or more axes with degree of autonomy moving within its environment to perform its intended task. Or what are those things that it is intended to do? When we talk about degree of autonomy or autonomy in short, we are talking about the ability to perform intended tasks or the task that the robot is created to do, based on the current state and sensing even without human intervention. Meaning, it can do tasks on its own without even human controlling it. But of course, humans are the ones programming it. Like we are just saying to do that, or do this, or whatever the purpose of that robot is, and it is performing itself. Next, we have service robot. A service robot is a robot that performs useful tasks from the word service for us humans or equipment, excluding industrial automation application. In other words, a service robot is a robot that serves and also performs tools for us humans and equipments. We also have personal robot, or a service robot for personal use. It is a service robot used for non-commercial tasks, usually by laypersons. Examples of personal robot are domestic servant robot, automated wheelchair, personal mobility assist robot, and pet exercising robot. Roles played by robot. Just like people living in society, robots also have their own set of rules and characteristics that define what a good robot is. So Isaac Asimov formulated a laws when he was thinking of the ethical consequences of robots. So who is Isaac Asimov? Isaac Asimov is the father of robotics, an American writer and professor of biochemistry at Boston University. So here are the roles played by robot. It is used to ease the workload of mankind, to make life more efficient and less stressful, to entertain people. So, we also have here the 3 laws of robotics by Isaac Asimov, year 1940s. So, first law, a robot may not injure a human being or through an action allow a human being to come to harm. So, the first law, it should be a robot are safe. Second law, a robot must obey the orders given by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. So if those robots going to harm people, they are against in the first law. So the third law, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and the second law. It should protect its own in accordance, it's not against the first and the second law. Ethical dilemmas faced by robotics. First, ethical dilemmas faced by robots is safety. As also stated in the Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, robots must not harm human beings. So the question on mind we should ask, who should be held accountable if someone's safety is compromised by a robot? Who should be blamed? It is the robot, the agent using the robot, or the maker or inventor of the robot? It is important to know who should be blamed and who should be held responsible if such things happen. Second ethical dilemma faced of a robot is the emotional component. It is not completely impossible for robots to develop emotions. So now, what if robots become sentient? How would that be? Should they be granted rights? If the problems arise when the robot deviates from the laws specified, then the maker or the inventor of the machine should be blameworthy. It just means that the robot was not programmed very well because it violated the laws. Other problems may arise when the machine develops the ability to think for itself. In this case, the one that should be blamed can be the maker or the inventor and the robot itself. This is because in the first place, the maker gave the robot the capacity to think for itself. So he should be very much aware of its possible consequences. In addition, since the robot thinks for itself whether or whatever decision it makes and whatever consequences it may bring, the robot itself should be held responsible.
That would be all for our video presentation. We hope you learn and gain knowledge from us. Once again, this is Info Channel. Thank you and good day everyone.